crackle was back, an orchestra of demons warming up. It always began this way, a prelude to whatever horrors lurked within these forgotten places. Miles deep into the woods, our GPS was useless, a dead screen mirroring my own growing unease. The asylum rose before us, a jagged silhouette against the dying light. Albright, they said, had succumbed to madness here, or perhaps discovered something far worse. The stale coffee in my throat tasted like ash. This was meant to be our ticket, the video to catapult us to fame. But the looming facade only stirred a primal fear, cold and deep. A lone crow called, its voice amplified in the stillness. And then, a quick movement in a window, far too swift to be anything natural. I blinked and it vanished. Just tricks of the light, I told myself. Just the wind playing games. Yet the static in my headset intensified. A whispering scream that sent shivers down my spine. Liam, our tech guy, oblivious as ever, adjusted his camera, muttering about lighting. I envied his naivete. Suddenly, a blood-curdling shriek split the air, emanating from the asylum's depths. Liam practically vibrated, a human hummingbird fueled by caffeine and delusion. His glasses, thick as bottle bottoms, reflected the asylum like twin, distorted moons. Think of the views, man. This place is screaming content. Sarah, ever the rock, ran diagnostics, her face a tight mask of concentration. Research was her domain, the anchor in our chaotic sea. I clutched the camera, the cold metal a small comfort. Fame drove Liam. Sarah craved recognition. Me? I was just running, trying to outpace the shadows nipping at my heels. We were a team, bound by a shared thirst for the unknown. Yet, standing before Albright's gates, a chasm opened. Liam's zeal felt brittle. Sarah's focus desperate. I just wanted to bolt. A guttural moan escaped the building, low and hungry. Liam cheered, oblivious. Sarah flinched, but hit it well. I felt a icy dread creep up my spine, whispering promises of pain. This wasn't going to be fun. The gate gave way with a shriek of rusted hinges, a sound that chewed through the quiet woods like a chainsaw through butter. Unlocked. That was strike one. No guards, no warnings, just an open maw inviting us in. The air inside was thick, a cold soup you could taste. Rot, mildew, and something else. Sharp, metallic, like old blood. Liam, Mr. Invincible, kept jerking his head around. Sarah, usually calm as a pond, was all thumbs with her EMF reader. The needle went berserk, banging against the stop. Something's here, she breathed, voice tight. We edged deeper, the dark pressing in like a shroud. Then, the archive. Shelves crammed with journals, photos bleached with age, reel-to-reel tapes gathering dust bunnies. Albright's story, laid bare. Liam started setting up cameras, chattering about angles. I picked up a journal, the handwriting a mess, ink smeared like tears. The first line sent a shiver crawling up my back. The mind is a garden. And I, the gardener. This wasn't just science. This was something darker, something hungry. Obsession maybe, or worse. The journals reeked of madness. Albright's sick rationalizations, his spiral into wrongness. He thought he could unlock minds through pain. Lobotomies, sensory deprivation, chemical cocktails. The photos were worse. Hollow faces, eyes that saw nothing. Bodies chained like animals. Sarah found a tape, subject 17. We played it. A woman's voice, a thin thread of terror, begging. Then Albright, smooth and cold, explaining what he'd do. I wanted to rip it out, erase it, but my hands were lead. The tape ended with a scream that scraped bone. Liam, green, killed the recorder. Okay, he whispered, voice shaky. Break time. Too late. The air felt heavy, thick with badness. A shadow flickered. Tall, too thin, eyes like holes. I blinked. Gone. But the dread stayed, a cold knot in my gut, whispering of things unseen. The whispers turned to shouts, a chorus of the damned echoing through the asylum. Albright's voice, calm and clinical, rose above the din, dissecting the woman's pleas with cold precision. It was a symphony of torment designed to unravel our sanity. Liam's face was pale, his eyes darting around chasing shadows that weren't there. Sarah huddled in a corner, lost in a silent world of her own making. A headache throbbed behind my eyes, a relentless drumbeat that threatened to split my skull. The operating room was a charnel house. the air thick with the ghosts of suffering. A scalpel gleamed on a tray, beckoning with a silent promise of release. I reached for it, drawn by an invisible cord. Then, he was there. Albright. Not a ghost, not an illusion, but solid, real. He stood in the corner, eyes burning with a malevolent intelligence. A slow smile stretched across his face. A predator savoring its prey. He raised a hand, beckoning me closer. And I felt it, a psychic force. A wave of pure malice that pinned me to the spot, stealing my breath, freezing my blood. He was power incarnate. A dark god in a white coat. Liam snapped. A dam burst, unleashing a torrent of gibberish, a word salad of dread and accusation. Voices, Albright, shadows. He bolted. A human projectile launched from the operating theater, vanishing into the asylum's labyrinthine corridors. We gave chase, but he moved like a man possessed, driven by something unseen. His screams echoed from the woods, a fading chorus of madness, then silence. The air thickened, heavy with despair. Sarah and I were alone, adrift in a sea of malevolence. The whispers intensified, clawing at the edges of my mind, promising oblivion. Sarah retreated inward, her eyes glazed over, seeing horrors I couldn't comprehend. Visions of Albright's butchery, the tormented souls trapped within these walls. She was unreachable, lost in her own private abyss. Shaking her was useless, she was already gone. I stood alone, the camera a cold weight in my hand, still recording. What did it matter? Escape was the only thing now, a desperate, primal urge. But deep down, a chilling certainty took root. Albright had won. We were broken, puppets dancing to his infernal tune, trapped in his macabre theater. I found a crack of light under a door, a rectangle of hope in the suffocating dark. It had to be outside. I shoved the door, expecting resistance, but it creaked open easily. A wave of fresh air, blessedly free of formaldehyde and despair, washed over me. I stepped through, blinking in the dim light. It wasn't outside. It was a small garden, wall-lit on all sides, overgrown and choked with weeds. A rusted gate stood at the far end, but it was padlocked, the chain thick with rust. Still, the air. It was cleaner, less tainted by the asylum's rot. Maybe, just maybe, I could scale the wall. I took a step towards it, a sliver of hope flickering in my chest. Then, a shadow fell across the garden. Albright stood in the doorway, a syringe in his hand, his smile wider, crueler than before. Trying to leave? He asked, his voice soft, almost gentle. We wouldn't want you to miss your appointment. He surged forth, scalpel glinting like an evil grin. I sidestepped, the steel a hair's breadth from my cheek. A brutal dance in that tomb. He possessed strength beyond his frame, a dark current fueling him. Snatching a metal bar, I swung blind. It connected, a sickening thud, sending him stumbling. But he righted himself. A smile blew me, slow and wrong, freezing my blood. The scalpel rose again, eyes burning, devoid of warmth. I knew defeat, he was drenched in it, but surrender? No, I raised the camera, aiming. You crave remembrance? I roared, voice cracking. Then let the world glimpse your soul. The flash exploded, painting his face in stark light. He recoiled, a howl escaping his lips. The room bucked, walls groaning, the asylum's bones breaking under its own weight. The sun felt wrong, too bright, too normal after the asylum's eternal bloom. Twisted trees clawed at the sky where the building had been, now just a heap of gray. No Liam. No Sarah. Albright had vanished, like smoke in a gale. Had any of it been real? The scream still echoed, a phantom chorus only I could hear. I stumbled toward the road, each step an act of will. The air tasted clean, but my lungs felt heavy, filled with something rotten. Back to the world. Back to pretending. Back to a life forever, stained by shadows. I fumbled for the camera, a desperate hope. Gone. One. Every file wiped clean. Except for one. A single snapshot of pure madness, a face consumed by darkness. A chilling reminder of what I'd seen. Albright's face, a silent scream trapped in pixels. I deleted it, but the image lingered, burned into my mind's eye. He was still there, somewhere. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that he wasn't finished. I uploaded the video. Had to. Needed them to see. understand what festered out there. The view count climbed, a digital wildfire. Skeptics scoffed, branding it fiction. Believers whispered of truth, saw Albright's madness mirrored in their own anxieties. Then came the changes. People reported shadows flickering in their peripheral vision. Whispers on the wind, names spoken in the dead of night. The asylum's sickness was spreading, a digital plague carried on the wires. I pleaded, begged them to stop watching, but the algorithm had taken over, amplifying the horror. It was a runaway train, fueled by fear. The gate was open. The darkness poured in. I caught my reflection. Something was different. A tightening around the eyes, a subtle shift in the jawline. Not Albright's face, not exactly. But something else. A faint echo of his twisted smile. Then, a new comment appeared beneath the video, chilling in its simplicity. Thank you for letting me out. The profile picture? A perfect image of my own face.